Good evening, everybody, and welcome. My name is James Odom, and I am the Communications Director here at Strand Bookstore in New York City. Before we launch into a discussion of channel kindness, stories of kindness, and community, I'd like to share a little bit of history about the Strand. The Strand was founded in 1927 by Benjamin Bass on 4th Avenue's Book Row. Stretching from Union Square to Astor Place, Book Row gradually dwindled from 48 bookstores until, after 93 years, the Strand is the sole survivor, now run by third-generation owner Nancy Bass Whiten. We want to thank all of you for your support. Without our loyal community of book lovers, we wouldn't be here today. Tonight, we are beyond excited to help launch Channel Kindness, the new collection of inspirational stories by Born This Way Foundation's youth reporters and Lady Gaga. Hosting the event is Cynthia Germanotta, president and co-founder of Born This Way Foundation and mother of Lady Gaga. Cynthia Germanotta launched Born This Way Foundation with her daughter Lady Gaga in 2012 with the mission of supporting the mental health and wellness of young people and empowering them to build a kinder, braver world. Since its inception, Cynthia and Team Born This Way Foundation have reached hundreds of thousands of young people across the country and around the world to help understand and support youth mental wellness and the impact of kindness in our communities. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Cynthia Germanotta.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for the introduction, James, and thank you to the Strand Bookstore for hosting our event tonight. I am so honored to be here celebrating the launch of our book, Channel Kindness, with two of our incredible young authors. And James, I must share a little personal story with you. My daughter, who most of you would know as Lady Gaga, who I call Stephanie, still has the Strand tote bag that she bought in college, and she uses it, she treasures it. So I just wanted to share that with you, a little bit of insight there. It's good and worn. I'm so pleased that we're joined today by two of our young authors, by Josh Greenblatt and also Brooke Goldman. Both of who have shared, yes, please say hi, wave. Hey. They have both just shared wonderful, courageous stories in Channel Kindness, stories of compassion and what I would call actionable kindness. And you'll understand that once they start talking. And it's kindness that has benefited them, it has benefited those around them, and I think it will benefit everyone that reads it. Tonight, you'll be hearing about 2 of 51 incredible stories that are part of Channel Kindness, and they are written by young authors from all around the country. My daughter and I, we have always believed in lifting up the voice of young people. And this book was inspired by my daughter and the fact that she shared her struggles at a very young age with people, with her fans as she started performing. And her courage to do that really inspired others to share their own story. And we realized that there were so many unheard voices out there. And from that experience, we both really learned the power of storytelling and how kindness can empower and also heal others. So Josh and Brooke, I am just so inspired by the stories that you have shared in this book, what you're doing to make the world a kinder and a braver place, and the very, very strong calls to action that you have. So I'm looking forward to chatting with you. And I also, to our viewers, before I begin, I really would just love to encourage you to ask questions at any time. We want to keep this conversational and interactive. Somebody will be sending questions to me, so I will see them and hopefully can get to as many as possible. We hope that you're really inspired by these stories, and I also hope that you're inspired to have your very own copy. So a little bit about our authors. Josh Greenblatt. Josh, I guess I would say you are a multidisciplinary artist. You have performed around the country. You have done voiceovers. You're working on a documentary and a film, just involved in so many things, and all the while being very much an advocate and very much about powering others around you. So you just it's just really wonderful, all the things that you're doing. Brooke, likewise, you're a freshman in college now at the University of Michigan. You have traveled various places, including Alaska, that we're going to talk about. You founded a nonprofit already. You have also, I guess, a volunteer position as a USO volunteer, which is absolutely incredible. And I know in your free time, you also love music. So both of you are just so accomplished already. And I'm so proud of all the things that you're doing. I'd like to kick it off to both of you by asking you the same question now. First, you can also share a little bit more about yourself, something that I might have missed. And I'd also love to hear about your experience contributing to the Channel Kindness book. Why don't we begin with Brooke?
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. So my name is Brooke Goldman. I'm 18 years old, and I'm currently in the University of Michigan, as you've heard. And I'm from Manhattan, and I will always love it there. And I've just had the most incredible experience working and contributing on Channel Kindness. I really have. When I was 15, I always have been a free thinker and had these big ideas, but I always was challenged trying to find these like-minded people. And the Born This Way Foundation, if there's something that I'm the most grateful for, it's just giving me the opportunity to meet the most brave and authentic people that I think I'll ever meet. Being so young and feeling so valued at the foundation has definitely given me the confidence that I have today. So I'm definitely grateful for that.
We appreciate that so much, Brooke. And you know what we did even before the book was establish a digital platform that we called Channel Kindness. Still exists, and we encourage those to join that want to write. It's channelkindness.org, and it's a safe environment for young people to share their stories, and we work with them about ways to do that. So thank you for sharing your experience. Josh, can you tell us a bit about anything else about yourself and also your experience contributing to the book?
There we go. Hi, everyone. Yes, Cynthia, I'm Josh Greenblatt. My pronouns are they, them, and theirs. I'm also from New York and currently here in New York City. And just like Brooke, I have been so inspired by my peers, that I now call them, that I met through this Channel Kindness program. And Born This Way Foundation as a whole has become such a part of my life ever since doing the Channel Kindness program. And they brought into my experience so many amazing opportunities that I'm so thankful for. Everything to do with my story that you'll read in the book, but other incredible things that I would have never gotten to do otherwise, such as bringing a busload of kids from Harlem to the March for Our Lives in DC, which was for gun control. That was so incredible. And it extends even so far beyond that. For instance, tomorrow I have an interview with the Ali Forney Center working with their LGBTQ plus youth who are experiencing homelessness. And that's something that came into my life because of Alex Aid, who works for Born This Way. So shout out to Alex Aid. And also, while I'm on that, I just want to shout out Shadil and Aisha, who interact with all the reporters that you'll read in the book. Shadil and Aisha help us, and they encourage us, and they shaped these stories in ways that I can't even describe. They are such a huge part of what made Channel Kindness what it was for me, and I know for my fellow reporters too. And we're all just so thrilled to be a part of it. So thank you for having me here tonight, and thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you so much, Josh. And I couldn't agree more about Shadil and Aisha, because they have really helped shepherd this initiative and are constantly available and working with young writers. And it's just wonderful to see these stories come to life. Josh, I'd like to stay with you for a minute, because in your story, you highlight the work of what's called the Accompany Project. And what I found very interesting is you mentioned that through that, you learned about the concepts, even more about and appreciate the concepts of social justice, discrimination, as a result of some of the training that you received. And I would just love it if you could tell us a little bit about why you chose to write about this initiative, and maybe share a little bit about the Accompany Project.
Absolutely. The reason I decided to make this one of my stories for Channel Kindness is actually, it stems from some really personal things, actually. As a child, I experienced a lot of bullying, and through my adult years, I've been assaulted, unfortunately, in basically any way that a person can, verbally, physically, sexually. And so I know what it is to be targeted and discriminated against. And so when I see that happening to anybody else, I don't want to freeze. I don't want to walk away and just hope it disappears. I want to be a part of what diffuses and de-escalates that potentially violent situation. And so I stumbled upon an ad for bystander intervention training classes and instantly clicked because I knew that that would give me the skills that I was seeking for. And it really, really did. They covered so much ground. And it was so enriching that it spurred me to learn more about the people who were offering this. And that is the Arab American Association of New York. And where all this came from was someone who was affiliated with their organization was experiencing a lot of harassment. And so their friends circulated a Google Doc for people who would sign up and volunteer and literally accompany that person to the places that they needed to go and make sure that they were safe. And so that spurred this whole initiative that they have grown into something so beautiful, and that's called the Accompany Project. And it offers things like this, like the bystander intervention training classes, which I should mention are on a donation basis, which is so generous. And they have so many other amazing programs that you can look into. In fact, in the blurb that Lady Gaga wrote after my story, she even mentions other organizations that you can look into to find this type of training in your community and throughout the country. So I would really recommend learning about this because the information is there and it's so, so, so helpful.
I found it interesting. You said in your story that it's hard to find courage when hate raises its head, when it appears, but somehow, you said you were kind of paralyzed about helping yourself, yet you felt very empowered and motivated to help other people through the Accompany Project. What was the spark for you that allowed that to happen?
I think that sometimes it's easier to extend that helping hand to someone else than it can be for yourself. And through learning how to help others, you slowly start to realize ways in which you can help yourself too. And I'm really happy to report that in the time since learning about all this stuff, that I feel so equipped to move through this world, not afraid that my safety is going to be in jeopardy. I know what I need to do to stay safe. And more important to me is that I know how to keep other people safe if I see that their personhood is in danger as well. So it just was empowering. It was empowering for me in the world, but also personally, and I feel like that's for.
And I know for you personally, this extended beyond the Arab and Muslim community because you said that you realized all the intersectional issues with race and ethnicity and background. And can you talk a little bit about how that impacted you?
Yeah, well, also to the Arab American Association of New York's credit, I just want to mention that at the outset of the class, they were so incredible about creating an environment where we don't assume anyone's gender, we don't assume anyone's level of ability. Nothing like that. They made it a completely intersectional experience. And even though it is the Arab American Association, they were so vocal about the ways in which this type of discrimination affects everybody for any given number of reasons. And so it's definitely not just an Arab American issue. It's something that affects me in a lot of ways, and it's something that affects everybody in all different ways. And so it's really important to stay aware of that.
So true. And, we're all living that right now on so many fronts. So I really appreciate your courage, to reach out and tell this story. And we'll come back to you in just a minute. But Brooke, if we could go to you for a minute, your piece, your story primarily focuses on climate change and really how people are being forced to relocate and find new homes as a result of what's happening to the environment. And I know this journey with your sister Ava was so important to you. You understood the effects that this climate change has had in a very obscure place called Newtok, Alaska. What do you think the public should know about New Talk, and why was this the story that you chose to cover?
Right. So Newtok, Alaska, it's an indigenous village full of tradition, and they became displaced because of thawing permafrost and eroding shorelines as a result of climate change. So because their land was, pretty much sinking under the sea, they had to cross what's the Ninglick River onto a different site. And traveling there was one of the most surreal experiences I have ever had. In New Talk, I saw firsthand what it means for an entire community to help one another for a common goal, and the importance of resilient communities. I remember in the city, I was appointed to my own district's community board, and I often found myself frustrated by, usually it's an unintentional, uh, but I always felt it, but kind of an absence of common interest. And in New Talk, the strong sense of community there, it was something that was so overwhelmingly special to me. And it's something that I continuously try to train my brain to look for every day.
Mm.
And so it was kind of a no-brainer that that's the story that I would choose to cover. It was just erupting with kindness and the kinds of warm welcomes that you don't receive just every day.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, though, that I think we should tell our viewers it's very unlikely that two sisters from New York City would become passionate about New Talk.
Right.
Can you share with them how a simple gift is what inspired you?
Yeah. So I do have family that's from Alaska. And I remember when I was younger, my great aunt actually gave my sister and I, she showed us, it was called an Eskimo cookbook. And it had these the most outrageous recipes in it, like boil the blubber, add salt to taste, things that my sister Ava and I, we looked at each other, we're from Manhattan, and we're just amazed by it. And we were wondering, what is this place like? It was just so far from what we knew. And we just both had this insane curiosity to go there. And the getting there was mostly because my aunt had actually followed up with us, sending us articles about what was happening there because of climate change. So my sister and I we just became so invested in this place that was so far from us, and we didn't really know how we were, connected to it, but we did feel this connection, and we were just so engaged. And we do have a really great relationship. I love her so much.
It's really wonderful, and it's an incredibly kind thing and an important thing. I know through reading and learning through you and watching, you have a documentary now about this, that this erosion of land and forced migration is not new to New Talk. It's affecting many other communities there. I know you've started a fund to try to help those people relocate. So thank you for all that you are doing.
Wow.
And we'll come back in a second. Josh, back to you. So what were some of the main takeaways for you in writing this piece about the Accompany project? And maybe what advice would you give to others that want to get involved in something like this?
Yeah, well, I think that I do hope people read my story and it increases their empathy and awareness around the Arab American experience. Of course, these techniques apply to the many intersections, just like we were saying. But recent figures show that people of Islamic faith, or even people just perceived to be of Islamic faith, are twice as likely to be bullied. In fact, they are also currently the group that experiences the highest number of incidences of discrimination. And so I think that it's really timely that it's coming out right now. And I think that there are so many ways that we can combat this discrimination in our towns. There are so many centers like the Arab American Association. There are so many things that you can get involved with to come together and to change the mentality that creates this discrimination in the first place.
Absolutely so true. Thank you so much, Josh. Brooke, I thought it was really beautiful that you said that caring for the environment is in itself an act of kindness. Why do you think it's important to raise awareness about the environment, and how can we do so?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I definitely think that being kind to others definitely includes being kind to our environment, and it's so important, especially today, understanding how fragile our environment is and practicing ways to protect it. It's become one of the most important obligations that we have to ensure a safe future for everyone. And I know it's hard sometimes thinking, like looking at Alaska, for example, that village, it felt so far away. And then when you think, oh, Manhattan is an island and these things that are happening there, it can very, they will like, it's frightening. But it's just so important to be kind and just feel connected and make sure you're reading. And of course, trying to reduce your carbon footprint, recycling, I would say shopping locally and organically. Those are all amazing things to do. And so, yeah, just basically what I learned from Alaska is that making sure our communities are resilient is so important. And if we raise awareness and continue to do that, I think that even though it's frightening what we're facing, we can definitely fix a lot of the damage that's been done. So I'm very hopeful.
Think that we can. And we can't probably delve too much into this right now, but for everybody that's watching, we do a lot of research at Born This Way Foundation, and we know there's a direct connection between kindness and one's mental health. And I think in the case of both the different populations that you're both working with and the groups, I'm sure that there are emotional issues that they're experiencing from these things, and kindness is truly a way of healing. Now, to both of you, I have another question for both of you. With everything that's going on in the world right now, and you both feeling so very strongly about empowerment and activism, what do you hope that the book Channel Kindness accomplishes? Brooke, let me toss that to you first.
Okay. I guess my main thing is that I want people to understand that kindness is cool. It's genuinely cool. It's not just polite. It's something that everyone needs, and to be authentic. And it takes more courage than following the pack, but being yourself and following what you're passionate about, it's priceless. And if anything, this book shows us firsthand that kindness is the most powerful tool that we're given to heal the world, and what we need right now is exactly to heal the world. So I hope that people just, spread kindness, of course, and just be loving and communicate with each other and talk about mental health issues. And of course, everyone, but especially young people. It's definitely a book I wish I could have read when I was younger, and I'm so grateful that I found the foundation. But just following what you're passionate about and being a free thinker. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I'll tell you something that's really inspired me through the book is learning of all the incredible work that's being done that nobody knows about. And here, you're both like very young in your life and careers, making profound impact. And this is really a way for us to share that. So we're so excited about it. I wanted to maybe check in with viewers and see if there's some questions that I do see some questions coming in. One of which was, how did we choose these 51 stories? I wish I had an easy answer for you, but we have, since the inception of the foundation, we really wanted to lift up the voice of young people. And since then, we have been curating stories. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of stories like this. And we collectively came together, ourselves, my daughter, the team at Macmillan, the team at Flywell, who I want to thank. I'm so grateful to for all of this incredible work. And together we looked at stories that really were very diverse, crossed multi-sections of issues and struggles that communities and young people were having. And that was basically the selection process, to be sure that we had as diverse a representation of stories and impact as possible. I hope that is a bit helpful in answering the question. Do we have any more coming in? Well, Josh and Brooke, let me ask you. Oh, yes, I do have there's a question about how to actually share your channel kindness story. There are two ways. Maybe there's more if the team tell me if I'm not getting it right, but channelkindness.org is our platform, and you can go to that and also get there through our website, which is bornthisway.foundation, and learn about channel kindness. You can read the stories, you can see the history of some of the stories that we've posted, and learn how to become a writer. We also offer a course. It's more of a seminar, I would say, called Channel Kindness 101, that's conducted by Aisha, that talks about our writing process. And we stay with you the whole way with your story, and we'll accept them and read them and work with you on them. So we really welcome the opportunity to work with anyone. And I do want to mention that even though I would say 95% of the authors are young people, there are a couple of two stories I can think of in particular that were written by adults, and for very good reasons. I don't want to give that away, but they're just so powerful, so impactful, and the ways that they have actually used kindness to not only turn around tragedy in their life, but to mobilize an entire city. So just so proud of this work. Any more questions? And also, Josh and Brooke, while I'm fielding these, any other thoughts that you have, please feel free to mention them. I think I need a little bit more about that, me too. There's a self-care, I think, question.
Well, I'll say something if you'd like.
Oh, it's how do we have time to take care of ourselves? But Josh, yes, I do want you to say something.
Well, I just was going to say, and I'll happily talk about self-care as well. But just firstly, I'd like to say, I really hope that this, especially during this time, that a book like this connects everybody more firmly to what is really happening in our own lives, an increased ability to affirm the reality of what other people are going through. When you read these stories, they're going to hit your heart, and you'll see that these struggles and these triumphs are real. And I hope that transcends to the highest level, because as you see, when it comes to issues like climate change, Brooke, and when it comes to issues like domestic terrorism, when it comes to our dealing with the coronavirus during this time, all of that, there's been because of our technology and our addiction to social media, a lot of different reasons, there's been a lack of ability to really reckon with the true reality of the situations that we face. And I think that starts from the highest level, and it starts in the technology, but it also starts in the culture. And so when you read this book, you're going to realize that that we can come together, and that together we can create a better shared reality. When we affirm each other's reality, that is kindness to me. And then we can start to build a better reality out in the world together. So
that's so true. We call that validating someone's emotions. It's something I've learned from my daughters, that it's one thing to listen to another person, but it's another to really understand and validate their emotions, because they're real, because they feel them. Somebody actually said that last night, and it just really, really stuck with me. Thank you, Josh. But how are you both managing your own self-care right now? It's been an extraordinary time for all of us. I think a time of firsts for so many, where we're living under rules that we never had to before, and feeling I guess feeling isolated. We've kind of flipped the conversation on that by saying that we should remain physically distant but socially connected. But how are you both managing your self-care? Josh, I know you wanted to speak on that.
Sure. Well, I think that a lot of people listening can probably relate that at many times during the height of the pandemic, it was hard to maintain some of my typical self-care rituals. And the reason behind that is because our schedule was completely different to what we'd ever known it to be. And as much as we had so much more free time in some ways, in other ways, it was really hard to know exactly the best way to use that time. You know, as it's gone along, I've been able to implement a new schedule. You got to start from scratch sometimes. And sometimes when you get busier and busier, you'd be surprised. Sometimes that helps you stick to the things that help you get through those really busy days even better. And so I'm really happy to have found ways to keep busy, and I'm finally starting to hit a groove with my self-care and starting to feel like some of what was going on in my mind is starting to calm down a little bit. And yeah, but I'll be honest, it has been a struggle. And so if you are out there struggling, I'm right there with you. But, you know, just like my story, there's so many tools at our disposal. And so, you know, we can pick them up.
Yeah, there are. And there is a story in the book about self-care. So I did want to mention that. Brooke, yourself on self-care.
Yeah, so I agree. It has been difficult to create that new kind of routine, but definitely keeping myself busy with things, but also, you know, calming myself down. I've been doing a lot of yoga and meditation and that kind of thing. I've been reading a lot of books. I'm so excited to have a new one now. But yeah, I guess just, you know, reconnecting with friends virtually, talking to family, just keeping myself grounded, and, you know, just trying to get through this with everyone.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I mean, let's get back to writing for a minute, because that's what this is all about. I think journaling right now, stories, whether it's about this time or, you know, a friend of mine who was a writer said that, you know, everybody has a book in them, even if it's your own story. So just journaling, you know, writing, gratitude, lessons learned during this time is an exercise that our team has done. So it can be very, very helpful. We had another question, which I think is our final question, and that was, is it too early to be thinking about another book? I have to say, no, it's not too early. I think about it all the time because I have this beautiful window into the souls of so many young people, and I've seen their stories. I've had the privilege of talking to them and learning about what's important to them. So, you know, I would do it tomorrow if we could. We have many more, as I mentioned. We're getting stories from all around the world now. So my wish is that will happen. And thank you very much for asking about that. Well, I will just close and then turn it back to James. I just want to thank everyone from the bottom of my heart for attending, for your questions, for tuning in tonight. Thank you to the Strand Bookstore for hosting, and Josh and Brooke, most importantly, to you for your stories, for having the courage to share them, for inspiring us in everything that you do and helping us create that kinder and braver world that my daughter envisions. And it's going to take all of us to do that. So I look forward to seeing you continue to channel kindness, and to our viewers, I hope that you will join us in channeling kindness. And James, let me turn it back to you. Maybe we lost him. I don't know. But if we did, I will say good night to everyone. I do hope he comes back, but thank you again.